Y&R Spoilers Thursday, May 22nd reveal that Abby seems to be unable to control her emotions when Amanda appears, bringing with her many doubts and worries about the future of her relationship with Devon Hamilton-Winters, the man she once trusted as a solid support. Abby's appearance is not only a reminder of the potential rifts within the family, but also fuels the fire of suspicion surrounding Aristotle Dumas, the mysterious billionaire who is secretly influencing the entire Hamilton-Winters family legacy. The atmosphere in Genoa becomes increasingly suffocating as rumors about Dumas spread throughout the company's corridors. Abby, with her sensitivity and will to protect what she holds dear, cannot stand idly by as an outsider like Dumas intrudes on Winters' seemingly impregnable territory. Fears of a blatant takeover or clever manipulation plague Abby day and night, especially when she senses a change in Devon's gaze, a man whose loyalty was once unwavering. In this context, the return of Amanda Sinclair makes Abby even more uneasy. Amanda used to be the Winters family's lawyer, friend, and sometimes confidant, but now she appears as the lawyer representing Dumas, inevitably making everyone question her true intentions. Has Amanda forgotten the past, ready to put the Winters' interests on the commercial scale, or is she still quietly defending the values she once believed in? The confrontation between Abby and Amanda is inevitable. When these two women meet, the atmosphere seems to freeze with sharp glances and meaningful questions. Abby couldn't hide her worry, directly questioning Dumas's motives and Amanda's role in his plan. Abby's concern came not only from her position as a woman protecting her own happiness, but also from her fear of losing the power, status, and love she had worked so hard to cultivate with Devon. Amanda, with the calm and rationality of a seasoned lawyer, asserted that Dumas was actually trying to protect Winters from outside conspiracies. But that explanation was not enough to convince Abby, who always believed that in the corporate world, no one helps anyone without an ulterior motive. For Abby, a billionaire like Dumas would never rush to protect a family without personal gain, whether it was wealth, power, or simply manipulation. The arguments between Abby and Amanda became more and more heated. Abby did not hesitate to revisit old memories, recalling the close relationship between Amanda and Devon and the Winters family. Abby wanted to know whether Amanda's return this time was to help or was actually just a new game that Dumas set up to take over everything. Amanda, although calm, could not hide her slightly sad eyes when her old friend doubted her, because she understood that once trust was broken, it would be difficult to mend, especially when between them now there were not only memories but also countless calculations and secrets. The tension did not stop at personal arguments. The confrontation between the two women also represented two opposing ways of thinking and values in a turbulent world. Abby, with a hot heart and the will to protect what belonged to her family, confronted Amanda, who always used reason, law, and strategy as weapons. This secret war intensifies as secrets about Dumas' true intentions begin to leak out, putting the trust within the Winters family to the test. Meanwhile, Devon, caught between the two most influential women in his life, cannot help but feel pulled by two opposing poles. He sees the worry in Abby's eyes, feels the hurt every time she mentions the possibility of being betrayed by someone closest to her. But on the other hand, Devon cannot deny the wisdom and caution in every move of Amanda, the woman who has helped him through many incidents, the woman who understands better than anyone the fatal weaknesses in the Winters family structure. The undercurrent between Abby and Amanda grows more intense as each has their own arguments to defend what they believe is right. Abby is determined not to let an alien force control the fate of the family, while Amanda understands that in business, weakness means failure. She knows that one wrong move could see the Winters' legacy seized by hidden predators. That's why Amanda is always on the lookout, using all her legal knowledge to find loopholes, while trying to keep her relationship with Devon from falling into an irreparable abyss. But what is even more surprising is when Amanda realizes that Dumas is not only targeting Winters but also has ambitions to manipulate Damien, a strategic partner who is considering cooperation proposals. Dumas, with the mettle of a business tycoon, does not hesitate to make tricky moves, forcing Damien to choose between being loyal to Winters or accepting Dumas' new proposal through Amanda. In a bold move, Amanda proposes to Damien an alternative that catches him off guard, a three-way cooperation agreement that benefits all, but also carries the risk of being taken over by Dumas if just one of the three parties is negligent. The tension reaches its peak when Amanda faces the risk of becoming a double agent, being questioned by both Abby and Devon about her loyalty. She is on the thin line between ethics, friendship, and professional obligations. On the one hand, Amanda does not want to betray her old friends. On the other hand, she is forced to defend her client, Dumas, who can destroy everything in a flash. The drama climaxes when Abby discovers shocking evidence that Dumas has tried to take over many businesses through dark means. She immediately shares this information with Devon, rekindling his fear of betrayal and forcing him to choose between trusting Amanda and protecting his family. Devon is confused, not knowing what is true, what is a power play, and whether Amanda is really risking her reputation for the Winters family. Amanda, sensing the risk of being isolated, takes the initiative to meet Abby in a tense private conversation. Here, she honestly admits the pressures of standing between the two lines of morality and business, and warns Abby that if they do not face Dumas together, both Winters and Damien could fall prey to a game more ruthless than they imagined. Abby, after a moment of hesitation, is forced to admit that she cannot protect everything by herself. The two women, although not yet fully trusting of each other, decide to temporarily join hands, together to decipher the last secrets of Dumas and find a way to protect what remains of the Winters legacy. As night falls on Genoa City, Abby, Amanda, Devon, and Damien understand that the battle for the survival of the family has just begun. Dumas, with his power, wealth, and intrigue, has yet to reveal all his most dangerous cards. And Abby and Amanda, after all the misunderstandings, suspicions, and conflicts, realize that only unity and the courage to face the truth can help them overcome the greatest challenge of their lives. And somewhere in the distance, darkness still lurks, waiting for a moment of inattention to sweep away all the achievements they are trying to protect. The confrontation between Abby and Amanda has now gone beyond the limits of a personal relationship. It has become a symbol of the survival battle between the past, the present, and the fierce choices of the future, where only faith, sanity, and will can decide who will be the last one standing on the battlefield called Genoa City. Since that fiery confrontation, Genoa City has been plunged into a heavy atmosphere, where every word and every look between Abby and Amanda contains many layers of complex emotions. Abby carries within her confusion, anger, anxiety, and self-blame when facing the risk of losing not only the person she loves but also the family foundation that she and Devon have built. She often has trouble sleeping, her mind echoing with questions about truth, about trust, and about the boundary between good and evil in the unforgiving world of power. Amanda still maintains the familiar calm of a sharp lawyer, but her heart is torn. She knows that the decision to stand by Dumas is a double-edged sword. On the one hand, it helps her affirm her abilities and position in the legal profession. On the other hand, it makes her constantly questioned, even betrayed, by those who once considered her a close friend and family member. Amanda knows better than anyone that in Genoa, an illogical excuse or an emotional decision is enough to cause everything to collapse, leading to uncontrollable consequences. The undercurrent of power began to rise more violently when Dumas, through sophisticated tricks, quietly sowed division within Winters and pushed Damien into a position of being forced to make a choice. Not only stopping at influencing contracts, Dumas also used underground relationships and confidential sources from the tycoon world to threaten, bribe or make Winters' longtime partners wary. His every move was carefully calculated, not only to seize the legacy but also to eliminate any resistance from those who could threaten his ambitions. Abby, clearly feeling the danger approaching, could no longer keep calm. She proactively sought out former allies, from longtime Winters members to independent lawyers who had worked with the firm, in the hope of gathering evidence of Dumas' manipulation. However, not everyone was willing to stand by Abby. Many chose to remain silent, while others shook their heads in fear of retaliation. Abby gradually realized that she was falling into a state of isolation, and the fear of losing everything suddenly became more real than ever. Meanwhile, Amanda was forced to face long sleepless nights, where she questioned herself about loyalty, about friendship, and the fragile line between right and wrong. Dumas constantly pressured her to give Winters unfavorable contracts, while Abby continuously sent messages, asking her to explain and be transparent about everything. Every time she looked into Abby's eyes, Amanda felt remorse, but her professional obligations forced her to continue this dangerous game. Devon, at the center of the whirlwind, is slowly losing his way. He becomes increasingly quiet, withdrawn, avoiding family gatherings, avoiding both Abby and Amanda. Devon doesn't know who to trust, who to choose, and fears that the wrong choice will destroy his parents' legacy and his love for Abby will never be the same again. Every day that passes, Devon is pulled deeper into the abyss of doubt, when any small move from Dumas can trigger an unpredictable domino effect. Damien is put in a difficult position when he receives consecutive attractive offers from Dumas, while Amanda's presence makes him lose direction. He once believed that Amanda would be the one to balance the three parties, but the confusion between the roles of lawyer and best friend makes everything chaotic. Damien begins to suspect Amanda, even thinking of negotiating with Dumas himself to protect his interests. The climax gradually increases when Dumas suddenly announces a series of fake evidence, accusing Winters of violating the law in the process of managing assets. This information quickly spreads to the media, pushing Devon, Abby, and Amanda into the center of public opinion. The company's stock plummets, partners withdraw, and board members hold emergency meetings in anxiety and anger. Abby realizes that this is Dumas's preemptive strike to disorient everyone, and Amanda immediately rushes to find loopholes in the documents that Dumas released, determined not to let the truth be distorted. In the chaos, a mysterious person sends Abby a confidential document, containing evidence that Dumas has done the same thing in many other companies, bankrupting them and then acquiring them at a low price. Abby and Amanda, despite many misunderstandings, still decide to join hands again, this time not only to protect Winters but also to expose Dumas' true nature to justice. They begin a secret but dangerous investigation, delving deep into financial records, recording suspicious calls, and approaching people who have been victims of Dumas. A new bond gradually forms between Abby and Amanda, no longer a confrontation but a fragile trust rebuilt through each sleepless night, each time overcoming danger. They realize that only by uniting can they confront a dangerous man like Dumas. The following days in Genoa are a series of intense battles, both mentally and emotionally. Abby learns to control her temper and turn fear into motivation for action. Amanda maximizes her legal skills, even seeking the support of famous lawyers who have clashed with Dumas before. Devon, witnessing the changes in both women, gradually regains trust and decides not to let the past, suspicion, or any force separate him from Abby. The final judgment day comes, when Abby and Amanda simultaneously present convincing evidence to the board of directors and the authorities about Dumas' shady tricks. The truth is revealed, Dumas is investigated, and Winters' assets are temporarily frozen to protect against outside takeover. Damien, after witnessing what Abby and Amanda had done, apologized for his doubts and pledged to support the company's reconstruction projects with all his might. The storm seemed to have swept away all achievements, but it was in adversity that those who remained together, united and stronger than before. Abby and Amanda, after all, were able to look at each other with understanding eyes, not only as business allies but also as friends, sisters who stood side by side in the most dangerous times. Devon, finally, overcame the darkness of skepticism to hold Abby's hand, together towards a new future, where sincerity and trust will be the most solid foundation. Somewhere deep in Genoa, Dumas, though temporarily defeated, has not completely given up his ambition. He is secretly planning another move, more cruel and dangerous. This war, after all, is just the beginning of a series of challenging days, where love, friendship and honor will be continuously tested by the never-ending storms of power. Abby, Amanda, Devon and Damien know that there are still many dangers ahead, but now they are ready to face them, no longer alone, no longer divided. Because only together can they protect their values, their heritage and their hearts from all the pitfalls of fate and the unforgiving marketplace of Genoa. And so, the story of power, love, betrayal, solidarity in Genoa continues, promising fierce confrontations and touching moments that will continue to touch the hearts of viewers in many upcoming episodes. when light and darkness continue to intertwine at every turn of each character's fate. In the complex picture of Genoa City, where every choice can change the fate of a person's life, Audra Charles seems to be at the center of a whirlwind of emotions, power and hidden secrets. As a woman who has always known how to utilize her beauty, intelligence, and coldness to survive among complex forces, Audra is now caught up in a series of new challenges, a challenge of honesty with herself, as well as a challenge of loyalty and love and personal ambition. Everything begins when the past once again knocks on the door, and the name Kyle Abbott is unexpectedly mentioned in a seemingly harmless conversation between Audra and Holden Novak. Kyle, the man who once made Audra's heart flutter, the person between whom there has always existed a smoldering connection that has never completely ended, despite many storms. But Kyle is also the past, a past that can be brilliant, intense, but also full of hurt, doubt, and unspoken words. Holden, at some point, unintentionally brought all of that up when he innocently asked about Audra's true feelings for Kyle, as well as their complicated relationship that never really ended. Audra, who was always in control of every conversation, was a little confused this time. She hesitated a bit, even her eyes flashed with surprise when she heard Kyle's name. Although she had told herself to forget, Audra still couldn't deny that Kyle's appearance, even in a conversation, still made her heart flutter. However, she quickly regained her composure, answered with a slightly sarcastic tone, intentionally appearing indifferent about the past, only emphasizing that it was all behind her, and that the person she wanted to care about now was Holden. But in Genoa, secrets never slept. Soon, rumors began to spread that Audra and Kyle were still seeing each other regularly, even having secret conversations at fancy restaurants, sending ambiguous messages on social media. The whispers could not escape the ears of Nate Hastings, the man who was now Audra's official boyfriend, and who was always sensitive to even the smallest changes in his lover's attitude. Nate was usually a rational man, rarely impulsively jealous, but this time, he could not ignore what he saw and heard. He began to pay attention to Audra's every gesture, look, and smile whenever Kyle was mentioned, and realized that she was still in Kyle's orbit, unconsciously, or maybe intentionally. There was a time when Nate accidentally caught Audra and Kyle standing next to each other in the hallway of a large hotel, their faces both familiar and a little tense, as if they were sharing a secret that was meant only for the two of them. Unable to bear the feeling of doubt, Nate decides to confront Audra directly. The interrogation takes place in her luxurious apartment, where the atmosphere is as tense as a string. Nate does not accuse, only asks direct, sharp but hurtful questions. Are you still attached to the past, or is it Kyle? Audra initially appears defensive, justifying herself that it was all a misunderstanding, that for her, Nate is the only choice in the present. She talks about her maturity, about what the past has taught her, not to let old wounds control the future. However, Audra is not the type to be forced into a weak position. When she sees that Nate does not fully believe her words, she turns to counterattack by listing all the times Nate has let the past interfere with their present. She emphasizes that without trust, any relationship will soon fall apart, regardless of who was in the past or what happened. But after all, the coldness in Nate's eyes made Audra realize that all the excuses and avoidance strategies were just a thin shell to hide the deep fear in her heart. The fear of losing a love that she had to sacrifice so much to have. Audra lives in a state of both insecurity and rebellion. She doesn't want to admit to anyone, including herself, that Kyle's shadow is always haunting her, that just a small impact from the past can make her fall. However, Genoa never gives anyone time to run away from the truth. The accidental or arranged meetings between her and Kyle are increasing, making everyone who observes wonder. Is it really the end between these two? Parallel to Audra's emotional turmoil, in another development, Damian Kane, a brave, cold man but also full of complex inner life, has just received an attractive offer from Winters. This invitation was personally made by Lily Winters, after many considerations about Damian's ability, bravery, and hidden influence in the business world. Although the specific job content has not been disclosed, everyone understands that it is not a normal position but a strategic move, which will decide the fate of the entire corporation in the coming time. Damien is someone who always carefully considers every choice. He spends a lot of time researching the benefits and risks of accepting this offer. Winters, under Lily's leadership, is at a new turning point, where any reckless decision can push the whole company into a spiral of endless power struggles.